Right, breaking news coming in. 3 Hizbul terrorists who were killed in an encounter at Avura village near Pahalgam were part of the group seen in the video they had uploaded on the social media earlier this month. The video was posted by these militants on the 7th of this month on social media platforms, after which the police began to track them. The posted video was analysed and the area in which the video was shot was identified. The security forces traced to the movement of these 3 militants. They finally killed them in an 11-hour-long gun battle. We have our Kashmir Bureau Chief Ashraf Wani, who's with us live this afternoon. Ashraf, take us through the gun battle, take us through the operation. How did the police manage to identify the area where this video was shot?
Absolutely, Amita. Basically, this was one of the clues with the security forces. On that clue, the security forces were tracking for last so many days to these militants who all are locals and belong to the Hizbul Mujahideen. This video was a recent video posted on the social network by the militants in the Kashmir Valley, and the area was identified earlier. It was South Kashmir near the Pahalgam area. Then on that basis, the security forces, army as well as police worked on the movement of these militants and finally cornered them in a remote village near Pahalgam, where this gun battle yesterday afternoon started and ended today early in the morning by the killing of all the 3 militants. This thing was briefed by the army commander, who briefed in a press just a few minutes back and said that these 3 militants were the part of the video which was posted on the social network. These 3 militants were among those 5 militants who are featured in this particular video posted by the militant groups on the social media.
All right, Ashraf, stay on with us. We also have Shivarur, who's with us live from our studio, from our newsroom this afternoon. Shiv, a very successful operation by the army. They managed to track down the location in which this video was shot, and they've actually managed to kill some of those terrorists.
It's actually pretty amazing when you think about it, Simi, because you know, that particular video that the army had accessed, you know, from the line of control was you know, a pretty hazy video. You couldn't really make out the precise location. Probably army experts were able to do that. Plus, the actual terrorists in that video, it was very difficult to make out their faces precisely. But to say that about 8 days later the same terrorists have been killed in Pahalgam is very interesting for principally 2 reasons. A, that they've been able to catch the same terrorists who apparently infiltrated in that particular video. Remember, Simi, was of Hizbul and Lashkar terrorists supposedly in a joint operation. But the other interesting point is, and which will probably be even more disturbing, Simi, is the Pahalgam area, which is in Anantnag district, has largely been very, very peaceful. There are no terrorists there. There is no terrorist activity there. You know, it's a tourist hotspot, as a matter of fact, where people go, especially during the winter months. So for terrorists to be caught and killed in a gun battle in Pahalgam, which is you know, a beautiful tourist location in Kashmir, is going to be pretty disturbing for the government and for the state administration. But an 11-hour gun battle that has resulted in these 3 terrorists being killed is definitely a big gain for the security forces.
Right, and Shiva, as you pointed out, it's quite remarkable that the army actually managed to trace a location, considering that there's hardly anything that you could see in that video except for snow.
Correct. You know, we were the first to report that video extensively here on India Today a few days ago. The date of that video, the 7th of January, as Ashraf was pointing out, Simi, is all that is really conclusively known about that video. We're going by what the security forces have publicly stated, which is that the persons in that video have been identified to be Lashkar and Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists. How that information has been confirmed, the security forces have not yet revealed, but they have drawn this direct link, as Ashraf has been reporting. First, you know, between that video and what happened in that village near Pahalgam today. So pretty remarkable. The link very directly being drawn. A very short span of time for that link to actually be established is also pretty amazing. But the security forces have a very tough job to do, Simi. You know, infiltrations of this kind in the winter months is something that will be pretty alarming as well. And you know, gun battles continuing even in these very, very harsh winter conditions is something that is, you know, the signal is this is probably going to continue as well.
Right, Shiv, stay on with us. Let's get a word from Ashraf Wani, who's still live with us. Ashraf telling us that 3 of these terrorists have been killed. What about the other 2?
Basically, there were only 3 militants. What was the tip-off with the security forces, and all the 3 have been killed. They all belong to the Anantnag district from the Vijayhara area, where there are just now, as we are reporting, clashes going on because these are the local militants. Large gathering of people have assembled there for the funeral, and there were some stone pelting incidents reported from that area. She was mentioning about this particular video, but one thing we want to clear for our viewers, that is what it was not an infiltration video. It was a video which was shot by the militants in hinterland near Pahalgam area in South Kashmir, and which became a clue for the security forces to conduct this operation. What is being told by the army to hear to us. But so far as this you are talking about the other militants featured in the video, as she was mentioning, as we reported earlier, it was a video which was posted on the social media by both Lashkar as well as Hizbul militants in the Kashmir Valley, giving the signal that they are going to operate together in future in the Kashmir Valley. One of the interesting thing what we want to mention here for the viewers is that this is the winter season in the Kashmir Valley, as you are seeing snowing in the Srinagar as well as heavily snowing in the hilly areas of the Kashmir Valley. The militants, particularly the local militants as well as the foreign militants who were hiding in the dense forests in upper reaches in the summer months, get down in the winter months to the hinterland, to the near habitat areas where they can reside inside the residential houses, inside some safe places to get rid from the cold. And this is the tough time for the security forces, as much encounters occur in the state, particularly in the Kashmir Valley, as well as it is the tough time for the terrorists. Basically, it is very difficult for them to hide in the dense forests, in the open fields, and they have to take shelter to avoid the cold and the snowfall in the Kashmir Valley. That is why the whole winter patch is being considered as a hot time for the security forces as far as the operations are concerned, because militants are in the hinterland, in the residential areas, whether that is the Pahalgam in South Kashmir or the North Kashmir.
Right, Ashraf, stay on with us. We're also being joined by Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant, who's with us live this afternoon. Gaurav, what operational details can you share with us?
From what sources are telling us, this was an absolutely immaculate signal intelligence operation. Now, these terrorists, after they took the pictures, they had to come down to an area to post these images on social media, and that is where the security forces locked onto them. Signal intelligence tracked them down. After that, their movement was followed. As Ashraf was pointing out, since they came to Pahalgam to take shelter in that heavy snowfall in the past couple of days, the security forces were tracking them, the army was tracking them, and while the army operation was on, and that's a disturbing aspect of this operation, there was stone pelting in that area, considering these are local terrorists of the Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist organization. So the army battled the stone pelting. That's where police reinforcement came in. These 3 terrorists, after an 11-hour operation, were eliminated. 2 other terrorists, the army is also locked on to their movement, and there is another operation that we will be hearing of shortly. As of now, there is a pursuit on, and should the army be able to track them down as this pursuit gets underway, all of them will be eliminated. That's what our sources are telling us. So this was an immaculate signal intelligence operation, and that is where social media, where these youngsters are boasting about their operations, they're also increasingly coming under the radar of the security forces.
Right, Gaurav, stay on with us. Shiv, it was quite brazen in the manner in which these terrorists had actually posted that video and then photographs of themselves on the social media carrying guns and other weapons.
Correct, and it's, completely ties in with the kind of, brazen propaganda that the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Hizbul Mujahideen, have tried to do over the last few months. They've been on the back foot for the last 2 to 3 months. We've seen bank looting taking place, on an unprecedented scale, Simi. The unrest in Kashmir winding down a little bit. So obviously terror groups have been under pressure, to mount terror attacks, and even more importantly, as Gaurav and Ashraf have been reporting, to recuperate their lost lost resources like men, materials, weapons, ammunition. It's getting much more difficult for them. So you're seeing a greater coming together of the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Hizbul Mujahideen in the Kashmir Valley, and also great pressure on them to try and recruit more. And that's where all of this social media, comes into play. We've seen videos from the Pulwama's apple orchards. We're seeing them from the snowbound line of control as well. And I suspect that we're going to see many more such videos that terrorists would like to put out to try and attract young people into the fray.
Right, and Ashraf, can you share with us details of that terrain where the video was shot and where this operation actually took place? These are sub-zero temperatures that we're talking about and extremely harsh conditions.
Absolutely, Simi, as I was saying that this is very tough time for both as well as for the security forces, but also equally for the militants, because they can't hide in the open areas in these chilly nights of the winter in Kashmir Valley. The temperatures, as we were reporting for last so many days, was coming down to minus 10 degrees in the Pahalgam area. So they were hiding in the Pahalgam area in upper reaches, but due to the snowfall they came down to the hinterland, to the residential areas where they could take shelter in some residential houses, as they did yesterday afternoon. But their movements were tracked down by the security forces. There is a huge grid of the security establishment in the Kashmir Valley for these operations, which is jointly being conducted by the police, by the army, by the CRPF. And so in that way, after the posting of this recent video, this is one of the videos which is most recent, just shoot on the 7th of this month, 7th of January, then posted on the social media when we reported on the 9th of this month. And just after 6 days in a week, these 3 militants out of the 5 which were featured in that particular video have been killed in the near the Pahalgam area. As Gaurav was mentioning, there are 2 more militants which are believed to be from Lashkar-e-Taiba, because Lashkar-e-Taiba as well as Hizbul Mujahideen militants, most of them are now local, are operating jointly, and probably the security forces are tracking them. As far as the terrain of the Pahalgam is concerned, it is the hilly as well as the plain area. There are some villages which are in the plains, there are some villages which are in the hilly areas. But where this particular operation took place, that is a village a bit hilly, but it was a specific input with the security forces. That is why they succeeded in holding up these 3 local militants in a particular house and then killing them after 11-hour long gun battle in South Kashmir.
Right, and you know, Gaurav, it's remarkable that these kind of infiltration bids are happening in this season where, as well. Usually you see in the winter months there's a sort of a lull in infiltration bids, because there are feats of snow that the terrorists have to encounter while crossing across into India.
Spot on there. Of course, these are local boys. These are local Kashmiri boys of the Hizbul Mujahideen. But increasingly there's an aspect of these Pakistani terrorists using higher reaches despite the snow to infiltrate. There was one major such operation last year in which Pakistani terrorists of the Lashkar-e-Taiba had access to extreme high altitude clothing made in Switzerland, snow boots, snow gear, equipment that could only be given to them by the Pakistan army, and which India, of course, said was proof of Pakistan army supporting terror in Jammu and Kashmir through Lashkar terrorists. Now, those terrorists are undergoing training along with Pakistan army SSG commandos. So that is where that hybrid group of Lashkar terrorists, Pakistani commandos, they operate together. In this particular case, local terrorists of the Hizbul Mujahideen operating in tandem, as Ashraf was reporting, with the Lashkar-e-Taiba. And that is, if you'd recall, Simi, we'd broken that story about Hizbul Mujahideen, Burhan Wani was speaking to Hafiz Saeed, wanting to operate in tandem with Abu Dujana and the Lashkar-e-Taiba. That's the new face of terror in the valley. Local boys of the Hizbul Mujahideen using Lashkar-e-Taiba, terror tactics, training, weapons, and also guidance to operate in Kashmir. But in this winter, this is good hunting season as far as security forces are concerned, because the terrorists are forced to come down to the lower reaches because of the snowfall, and that is where terrorists are being neutralized.
All right, Gaurav, Shiv and Ashraf, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed with developments on this big story. 3 Hizbul militants gunned down.